Broadcasting live across the big sky. Montana Talks with Aaron Flint.
Hey, we made the New York Times. Look at that. Here's just a couple of Montana kids having a conversation in the Capitol. Apparently, the New York Times was listening in. Montana's U.S. Senator Steve Daines, thanks for hosting us here at your office in the United States Senate here for Montana Coffee. It's an honor to see you.
It's good to have you, Aaron. You know, we talk a lot about Montana coffee when we're typically doing these hits. 6 a.m. your time back in Montana, of course, 8 a.m. here in Washington. But to have you here live, broadcasting from Montana Coffee, we're doing it here in my office. We're going to have Montanans showing up here about 8:15. Should be a good morning.
Yeah, I saw some Montanans are already showing up, coming here to have coffee with everybody.
Well, they know a good deal. Free coffee and free donuts, so never pass that
I've got a cup in hand myself here as well. But, yeah, this was so cool. So Jesse Ramos and I, we were just cruising around the Capitol yesterday. We thought, hey, let's stop into Senator Daines' office, say hi. We run into your team. They're like, well, we're just about to go see the senator. He's at lunch with Vice President J.D. Vance and all the Republican senators. So we tag along. We got a chance to run into Vice President J.D. Vance and then catch up with you, and what a meeting that was yesterday.
You know, we meet as Republican senators every Tuesday. We get together. It's kind of our locker room huddle meeting. It's lunch. And we meet in the Mansfield room, Aaron, which, of course, is the room just off the floor of the U.S. Senate. It's the largest meeting room. It's the kind of the most prestigious meeting room, and whoever's in majority control of the U.S. Senate has basically first rights on occupying that room for meetings. And so now that we're back in the majority, thank God, we meet there. But of course, you got a big painting there of Mike Mansfield, was the longest serving majority leader in the history of the United States Senate until McConnell just surpassed that here a couple years ago. But it's a proud Montana room. We had a great lunch with J.D. Vance. He's always so accessible. Of course, he was one of us here. Just a year ago, J.D. was just one of the guys coming to lunch. Now he's the Vice President of the United States. We're very proud of him.
The thing that got picked up by the New York Times, you and I were chatting just very quickly, and you were telling me about how he got an earful about beef, not just from you, but other beef states, not just Montana.
Look, this Argentinian beef issue is something that affects cattle producers all across the country. We have to remember that while we have 3 million cows and 1 million people in Montana, cattle producers are coast to coast. In fact, you got states like Mississippi. Cindy Hyde-Smith, one of my Republican colleagues, they've got a sale barn there in their place. They're cattle producers. And you just watch what's happening in some of these limit low days we're having right now in the cattle prices. We're staying in close contact with some of our great cow guys like Joe Goggins and other ranchers across Montana. But we were not afraid to make sure the voice of our ranchers was heard loud and clear to J.D. Vance yesterday. We registered this loud and clear to President Trump last week, to Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture, as well as to the President's staff, Susie Wiles, his Chief of Staff. I've been texting literally overnight. The President is over in Asia, as we know. In fact, I just got done texting David Perdue, who's the U.S. Ambassador to China, former U.S. Senator, very close friend of mine. And I said, David, let's make sure we bring up beef for the Chinese, because the Chinese have shut off the beef market to U.S. producers here following this trade dispute we've had since March.
But it was you and President Trump that first got China open to U.S. beef in the first place, back in the first Trump administration. Speaking of Argentina, it sure seems like, just put the beef issue aside for a moment here, this currency deal that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and President Trump put together seemed like it was a brilliant move.
Yeah, it was. And I think it's important to set the record straight. There's some, I think, false information about this Argentina on the financial side. It wasn't a loan. It wasn't a bailout. It's what they call a currency swap. We can be very thankful that when we wake up in the morning, our Secretary of Treasury is Scott Bessent. This is a guy who understands the financial markets, understands how to make money and do currency deals. What we did, it was a currency swap. So it was dollars for pesos. And by doing that, number one, it helped Milei get through a pinch point as he's going through these incredible reforms to move Argentina from really a socialist economy and culture to a free market. It's Argentina is becoming a MAGA type country there in South America. That's the good news. But that currency swap, it looks like because the appreciation and change in currency rates since Bessent made that play, it's going to make us, the United States, a couple $2 billion in profit from it.
Yeah.
So it's not a loan. It's a currency swap to stabilize at that point some problems Milei had. And by the way, Milei had an election on Sunday, and the conservatives had a landslide victory. So that's the good news. But I don't want to minimize the beef issue. I mean, I look at these in two different lanes right now. I'm really pleased to see Bessent help Malay with that currency swap and actually make us some money for America. But this beef issue is a serious issue. It started tanking our cattle markets just as our producers are shipping right now, and I think I wish our producers could hear the united chorus we have amongst Republican senators making these concerns known directly to President Trump and Vice President Vance. The message was received yesterday. In fact, even late last night, I was texting back and forth some of President Trump's key staffers, and they said, this is top of mind issue for us. We'll be on this, and I'm hoping we'll get some good ag deals while the president certainly is making his trip through Asia.
While you guys were talking beef in the Senate luncheon, it sounds like Chuck Schumer was feeling the heat in his Democrat luncheon.
Yeah, no, I think Schumer was having the question, where's the beef from his colleagues? So we'll wait and see if this fever starts to break on the shutdown. But we are hearing that there's some cracks developing in the Democrats' coalition. Look, if the truth be told, the Senate Democrats aren't big fans of Chuck Schumer. He rules kind of with an iron fist. He's running for his political life right now with AOC. I mean, can you imagine, Aaron? You wake up in the morning and think about AOC. I mean, what a miserable way to live. and so he's worried that AOC would beat him right now in a primary. I mean, that's the sad part of it.
All of these public employee unions coming out against the Democrats, calling on the Democrats to end their Schumer shutdown, essentially. I mean, that is a huge deal for the Democrats right now.
It really was. And so I think we saw this week a few dominoes start to fall when you see that one of the big federal employee unions come out against Schumer, basically busting the Democrats. It's their shutdown, which is just validating what we've been saying. By the way, there was a CNN poll last night, they were talking about on the air, that this is actually moving Republican numbers up in terms of congressional approval amongst independent voters, moving up in our direction as they're seeing through the charade of Chuck Schumer. So I think you saw that first domino fall. You're going to see the air traffic controllers now seeing delays. LAX had delays Sunday, DFW on Monday. As you're going to start seeing, as Secretary Duffy, Secretary of Transportation under President Trump, has said this is going to get worse and worse. So this is also a danger to the flying public. And then I think you'll see just increasingly with SNAP benefits, other things, which the Democrats love, they're going to, I think, start talking in the next few days about trying to find a way to resolve this.
Yeah, that's certainly what it sounded like yesterday. It sounded like what Vice President J.D. Vance said. I actually recorded, his remarks while he was doing a little scrum with some folks out there outside the luncheon, and I'll play that a little later in the show here as well. But really, one of the things that's nice about being here for Montana Coffee is really, we were here actually in your office. You had an inaugural watch party in here, so all the Montanans gathered in here because it was so cold on Inauguration Day. They moved everything indoors, and so we got to be here for that, and then now we're here several months later. Look at all the success of the Trump administration and what a difference a Republican Senate now makes. I mean, we just got Bill Mercer. You just got Bill Mercer confirmed to the federal bench in Montana. I can't underscore how important that is to the state of Montana.
Aaron, you go back to this journey we've seen over the course of the last now 13, 14 years. Back in 2012, in fact, I see my good friend Senator Kevin Cramer just walked in from North Dakota. Kevin and I got elected to the House together back in 2012. So we were freshmen together. And by the way, no North Dakota jokes here this morning, okay? This is a North Dakota joke-free zone this morning, to protect the honor there of the honorable senator from North Dakota.
Well, after they started rocking the Bakken, the North Dakota jokes went away. We were like, wait,
well,
we can't
they did.
Jokes on us.
The joke's on Montana there. If they started driving bigger pickups and bigger cars in general there in North Dakota and lower taxes. But back in 2012, we had one statewide elected Republican. It was Denny Rehberg. That was it. Mm-hmm. And today, for the first time since 1889, Aaron, since statehood, now we have an all-Republican lineup. But the undertold story is what's happening in the judiciary. These lifetime appointments to the federal bench. Could not be happier to see Bill Mercer, a guy I debated in high school. I was a Bozeman Hawk. He was a Billings West Golden Bear. We used to lock horns back in those days on the debate teams. And now to see him as our new federal district judge is a great moment. He'll be a great judge.
Well, and this, we got our friend Jesse Ramos here from AFP Montana. He's a Libby kid. I was just in Libby, interviewed the school superintendent. They used to have 3,000 kids in their schools, and now they only have 1,000 kids in their schools. And it's because of these attacks on mining and timber. But when we talk about making America great again, this is what this is about, is about bringing these mining jobs back, bringing these timber jobs back, so kids like Jesse that graduate from Libby can stay in Libby and have a camper and have a nice house.
Well, Jesse's a younger guy there, but I remember when Libby was a AA high school. We go up to, you go play Libby in football, of course, when the Bozeman Hawks would go up to Libby and play when they, of course, get the chainsaws out and let her rip.
They still got the chainsaws out. I was there for a game a couple Fridays ago.
I'm surprised the EPA and her Biden didn't shut that all down with that blue smoke coming out. But it really is, as I've said about President Trump, every hour is like a new day with this administration. The velocity of which they are moving with these really significant transformations of securing the border, securing the military, investing in the military again, getting the woke culture out of the military. Look what's happening now in going after an education, after the universities. You think of what they're doing right now in terms of stopping a $4.5 trillion tax increase, thanks to President Trump's leadership and Republican Senate majority.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. About one more minute to go. Montana Coffee, where really, we can catch up and talk politics and news any day of the week, but this is so fun being here for Montana Coffee, seeing all the Montana folks, even in the middle of the shutdown, folks are still here. So thanks for having us here for Montana Coffee, and to our friends from AFP Montana for making the trip happen for us as well. But what else do you want to tell folks across Montana? I think Jim Brown's going to be in the house. There's some state legislators here as well.
Yeah, well, first, this office is always open. As I say when I have, whether it's FFA kids, 4-H kids come back here, or Montanans at Montana Coffee, this office belongs to the people of Montana. It's not my office. It's Montana's office, and I just get to temporarily occupy it.
Well, and we got to see your new spring bear that you just got. You've already got the photo of your spring bear.
Yeah, well,
posted already.
Thanks to turning around quick prints there at Costco, I got a print there. But no, I had a great spring bear hunt. Got one of the better bears, black bears I've had. I had a grizzly sow and 2 cubs. I was watching just before I killed that black bear. So let's say my head was on a swivel when that 300 Win Mag made that shot on that.
And Cindy got a nice antelope.
She did.
As well.
No, I'll tell you what. It's Mrs. Daines now. She's an awfully good shot. So yeah.
Now that's why I got to get home so I can go get some hunting in too. Right. Thanks for rubbing it in. All right, Senator, good to see you.